How Sir Isaac Newton lost his fortune in South Sea bubble. This is a very interesting story. I want you to listen to the end of this video. I will give you some interesting facts about Sir Isaac Newton and how good he was an investor. South Sea bubble is the story of greed and avarice and a mad crowd that took the South Sea company stock to a dizzying height. Then it crashed and hurt many, many people. Many people lost their fortunes and some made their fortunes as well. It happened some 300 years back, but it is relevant today. The same thing has been repeated again and again. Whatever happened then has been repeated with variations, of course, but the basic crux is the same. The last time that it caused so much pain and anguish was the 2008 financial crash, which almost crashed the financial system of United States. Why this bubble formation and market crash happens over and over again? The main reason is we are emotional creatures and we don't learn from our mistakes. And again, we get blindsided by greed and take too much risk. I got into the South Sea bubble when I learned that the famous Isaac Newton, who invented calculus and revolutionized the world of physics with his theory of gravity that explained how the planets and comets move in the universe, lost something like about 20K investing in the South Sea company shares. In today's money, this 20K is something close to $40 million. So it was a huge amount, and Isaac Newton was greatly distressed on his folly, but thank God he didn't commit suicide. He could solve the equations, but he was a poor investor. This is what we can say, or was that he was poor as an investor. We will see in this post, and we have East India Company, a shameful chapter in British history. They still call it their empire. Was it their empire? Was it a loot and plunder of poor people on massive scale? You should also not forget the massive role Britain played in the kidnapping and enslavement of millions of African people, and how these free labors were very important in the early phases of capitalism. Today, if you see BBC documentaries, they simply try to whitewash these atrocities. Last but not the least, don't forget the opium trade. British people have committed massive crimes in history. British wars result in massive government debt. Let's start. In the 17th century, British society saw a lot of tumult. In 1640s, a bloody civil war took place and with the beheading of king, heralding the triumph of democracy over autocracy. From then on, Parliament was the supreme institution in Britain. In the late 1680s, Britain had the glorious revolution. William became the king. There were wars that Britain had to fight. Of course, you need a lot of money to fight a war. You have to arm and feed an army for many months. How do you finance a war? Silver coin smuggling problem. I will give you, let's start the story. I'll give you some rough details and make things very simple and easy for you. I will give rough figures, so don't worry too much about them. In the 17th century, Britain had silver coins. There was a perpetual shortage of silver coins in the country. Why? Silver price was high in Paris and Amsterdam, so smugglers had a profitable business, melting the silver coin and smuggling the silver to France and Holland and selling it there. And returning and buying more silver coins. The silver coin price was cheaper in Britain. This is a good example of arbitrage. Nowadays, things are lightning fast, and arbitrage opportunity is very rare and fleeting. But then this arbitrage opportunity was there for many years, and smugglers exploited it to the fullest. So Isaac Newton becomes master of mint. Now enters Isaac Newton. He had been a professor at Cambridge for 30 years, but somehow he developed friendship in higher places and got appointed to the Warden of Mint after a few years as Master of Mint. It was the job of the Mint to make these silver coins. It is reported in history books that Newton got the job at Mint by offering his young, very beautiful niece, Catherine Barton, as a mistress to Charles Montague, Earl of Halifax, the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Newton made the working of the Mint more professional, but the problem of perpetual shortage of silver coins in the country was hurting business transactions and the economy a lot. Mint asked his opinion and proposed to reduce the weight of silver in the coin. According to him, value of money is just a matter of opinion. By reducing silver weight in the coin, smugglers will find it not profitable to melt silver coins and smuggle silver. His opinion was heard by Parliament, decided to keep the weight as it was, as we have heard the British integrity. So whatever new coins were being built, minted, were being hoarded, and old silver coins were getting melted. This is the background of the Gresham's law. Bank of England gets created. The problem got solved with the creation of Bank of England in 1690s. Bank of England issued paper money for the first time with a promise to exchange it for a certain weight of silver and gold. So now paper money started circulating in the British economy for the first time. Bank of England was a joint stock company that had floated its own shares. There was a board of directors and extended millions of pounds loaned to the government. Britain was engaged in empire building, a shameful chapter, more on the shameful things Britain did in the making the empire than its sudden sad end. But a blog post on that how Britain looted and plundered the poor people in the world and started the slave trade. France was also engaged in empire building, so both Britain and France had a number of wars that were costly. Britain financed its wars by selling lottery tickets, which were in fact like modern day bonds. One famous lottery was Million Adventure Lottery. Britain also sold annuities to the public with a promise to pay a fixed amount till death. Exchange Alley was was the street where most of the transactions used to take place. Now the problem was Britain raised all this money at a high rate of interest to the public, something like 7 to 9%. South Sea Company Act gets passed. In 1700s, when the new century starts, British Treasury is facing a lot of problems, raising new financing and servicing the old finances. Something needs to be done. Enter John Blunt, a sharp and cunning man with a brand new scheme. I am making things simple. He proposed a new company, South Sea Company, that would take the British government debt and place issue shares to the holders of the enmity and lottery tickets and stuff like that, and reduce the interest being charged to the government and make it less than 4%. So in a nutshell, South Sea Company will be issuing shares that will be back to the government debt and on a course trade. South Sea Company will trade with Spanish colonies in South America. Main items will be African slaves and stuff like that. So you see, Britain was fully involved in the slave trade and got rich on the back of poor African men and women who got kidnapped and later got put to trial all day in America. War started with Spain and prospect of trade with Spanish colonies diminished. John Blunt was a cunning man. He bribed many members of the British Parliament and got the South Sea Company Act passed in 1711. South Sea Company will solve British government debt problem. £100 share was issued. Enmity holders and lottery ticket holders were offered these £100 shares and the dividend income that accrue from trade. The trick lies in increasing the share price above £100 by rumors and other clever tricks. As long as people buy the shares, its price will increase. So for the first time, margin trading was allowed. You don't need to invest the whole amount. People invest 25 to 50% of this amount and pay the rest in installments. South Sea bubble. In 1720, the bullish run starts. South Sea Company share starts from £100, then rises to £200, then £300, then £500, then £800, and then £1,000. People are going mad. All this price rise is manipulated by John Blunt and his cohorts. A Ponzi scheme had been created and became known in the state South Sea bubble. This Ponzi scheme can only prosper as long as money keeps flowing in. John Blunt knows this. He and his cohorts need manipulation and tricks to fool the people and make the money flow into the South Sea Company shares. This they do. This was the first time options contracts and forward contracts also got introduced. People started punting, buying options contracts and forwards contract. The first time trading on margin is allowed. In those days, it took time to record the sale and purchase of shares in register. This also allowed John Blunt to suspend trading in South Sea Company shares for a period of 2 months. So he had many tricks that he used to prop up the share price. Just imagine the share price started from £100 and went up to £1,000 in a matter of months in 1 year, 1720. This shows how cunning John Blunt was. Was there no one who could see that this is a bubble and the share price will collapse soon? There were a few people who tried to warn the general public that this was all scam and share prices were not reflecting the fundamentals. South Sea Company business of trade was not working. One such person was Archibald Hutchison. For the first time, he for the first time tried to calculate mathematically the true price of South Sea Company share price. He used a number of scenarios. In those days, modern finance has not yet been born. Concept of paper money, return, stock price were hazy and not clear. was not clear how to calculate the future stock income of a stock, but this man had some concepts that are pretty close to how we think nowadays. He showed that £500 price was too high and South Sea Company fundamentals only wanted a price of £150. People are paying too high a price for the South Sea Company shares. He published pamphlets in which he explained his reasoning. Yeah, the South Sea Company share price was not more than £200 when people were paying 800 to 1,000 pounds for it. So Isaac Newton loses 40 million in South Sea bubble. John Blunt got knighted and became Sir John Blunt. After all, he had solved the problem massive government debt. Enters Isaac Newton. He had bought enmities over the years, so he converted them to South Sea Company shares when the share price was £200. He sold at £300 and took profit and made 20K profit, a huge amount in those days, an investment of 10K. He doubled his investment and then he was out of market. He should have avoided the temptation to enter the market again. But when South Sea Company share price reached £800, he became edgy again and bought South Sea Company shares at £800 with all the money he had. He was dreaming to sell when South Sea Company shares reached 1,500 to 2,000 pounds. And all of a sudden, within 2 to 3 weeks, everything collapsed and South Sea Company shares collapsed to £150. Isaac Newton lost something like £40 million and $40 million in today's money. He was flabbergasted and disheveled. Newton was the greatest mathematician of his time and perhaps one of the greatest of all time. But investing and stock trading was beyond him. He had been working successfully as master of the mint. He had given opinion on economic matters of parliament, which seems to be sound and solid by modern standards, but I think he was carried away by his emotions. This is a sin that most of us commit as traders and investors. We invested a lot of money at the wrong time when the share price is almost stopped without proper risk management and paid the price. He is not the only person making this mistake. This mistake is made again and again. Even today, this is one of the most common investing mistakes. But not everyone was Newton. John Guy was a book publisher. He was a self-made man. He made his fortune selling Oxford Bible. He bought 50,000 South Sea Company shares at a price of £50,000. So the average price comes out to be £100. His entry price is very good. He bought at the price that the shares were issued. He started taking profit slowly when the stock share price reached £300 and sold the last shares when the price was £700. After that, he was done and never thought of re-entering the market. It's a good example. He was a very good and astute investor. Was not that much educated like Isaac Newton, but he knew how to play this game of speculation. His total profit was something like 400 million pounds in today's money. He did philanthropy with his money and made a hospital that still stands today. Lady Sarah, wife of Duke of Marlborough, was an astute investor. She sold all shares when price reached 500. So Lady Sarah, when she was also a very good investor. She also understood the mentality and psychology of the crowd, unlike Newton, who just didn't understand the psychology and mentality of the crowd. He was good in equations, but he could understand the psychology that of the markets. After that, once the price reached £500, Lady Sarah sold all her stocks. After that, she never thought of entering the market again. Newton made profit first time, but then he entered the market again when the bubble was about to burst and got clobbered. So always keep this in mind. When you miss the train, don't try to chase it. In the internet bubble, people got clobbered when they tried to buy internet stocks at the top. Story of South Sea Company bubble then got repeated in 2008 when Lehman Brothers stock heavily leveraged when price fell, it got busted. Mortgage based securities were almost similar to the South Sea Company shares. You see, history keeps on repeating. We never learn from history. South Sea bubble aftermath. There was a huge hue and cry. Thousands of people had lost their fortunes in South Sea Company bubble. The government credit market was in shambles. People demanded their money back. Parliament opened an inquiry. South Sea Company Cotton, who had the list of members of parliament who had taken bribes from South Sea Company first, refused to reveal the names to Parliament committee and when got the chance, escaped in a boat to Europe with his son. So John Blunt bought a lot of land, 70/20, from the profitable South Sea Company shares that he sold. This amount was something like 200,000 pounds. In today's money, it will be something like 400 million pounds and more, a huge amount in today's money. Robert Walpole was given the charge of solving the South Sea Company. Typically proposed to break the company to three small companies. The conversion of government debt into company shares would not get reversed, but people would get some compensation. Confiscated John Plant assets and assets of other culprits in the scam, and the money was used to reimburse the losses to the investors. A few powerful people committed suicide when they had been exposed in front of the people. Formation of new joint stock company was get banned. Ultimately, investors got something like half of their losses reimbursed. Robert Walpole made his reputation and became the Prime Minister, British Prime Minister. So the mechanism the same, greed and avarice makes people blind. This is known as the madness of the crowd. This got reflected in the tulip mania a century before in Holland. And again, greed was the main cause of the 1929 stock market crash. People thought prices will keep on going up, never reflecting that what goes up also comes down. People invested heavily on margin in the stock market, got their shirts burned. Then in 2008, again, we see it happen. So all financial bubbles are almost similar. No lesson is learned. Why? We are all emotional creatures, and when emotions take over, we ignore logic and reason.